Hi guys, today we're reacting to her stories, the girl counterpart of his story. Today we're gonna react to her shorts, then video like his story. We have Colby right here.
Yeah.
And we have my dog. Hi, say hi. He can't talk.
Guys, should we tell them?
Do you guys
name?
love him?
Should we tell them his name?
No, not yet. Okay, let's jump into the first video.
My blood.
After giving birth, I was staring at my newborn daughter in her bassinet when a woman in a hospital gown entered my room and walked straight toward my baby. My whole body went cold. Hello? Who are you? But she ignored me, reached into the bassinet, and held my daughter against her chest, crying. I tried to sit up to stop her, but pain shot through my body. Please, give her back, I begged. She's my miracle baby. I lost 3 babies before her. Please. She rocked my baby and whispered, she's perfect. She's mine now. Then she carried my daughter right out the door. My heart raced, and I slammed the nurse call button over, screaming for help. But down the hall, I saw the nurses chatting at their station, too distracted to hear me. If I waited a couple more seconds, my baby would be stolen. So I ripped the covers off and forced myself out of bed, and I felt my stitches tear open, warm blood soaking through my gown. I could barely stand, but I staggered after her into the hallway. She saw me behind her and started walking faster, but that's when I noticed the trail of blood behind her too, dripping from under her own gown. My daughter was wailing now, her tiny arms reaching back toward me. Security! Help! She's stealing my baby! She didn't even flinch. She's mine! Don't listen to her! She walked toward the stairwell exit with my daughter, and I lunged for her, but my legs finally gave out, and I crashed to the floor as she pushed through the door. My baby's cries faded behind the door, and I couldn't get up. I lay on the floor sobbing, my whole body shaking, because I'd finally had my baby, and someone ripped her away. Then the stairwell door burst open, and 2 security guards hauled the woman back through it, a nurse cradling my daughter and rushing her into my arms. I held her against my chest, feeling her heartbeat, finally safe. But behind me, I overheard 2 nurses whispering, that poor woman. She delivered this morning and lost the baby. She's been losing babies for over 5 years. My heart cracked open. We'd walked the exact same road, except mine finally ended with a baby in my arms. After giving birth, I was staring at I was in the middle of the highway when I saw my 2 children driving my husband's car. My 8-year-old son was stretched up over the wheel, and my 5-year-old daughter was bouncing in the seat beside him. I leaned forward, rolled my window down, and pulled up right beside them. What the hell are you doing?
That's
They started
illegal.
waving. Hi, Mommy! My foot came off the gas because my babies were doing 40 in live traffic, and I had no idea how to get them off this road alive. My entire body was shaking. Pull over right now! My son gave me a thumbs up and took the next exit. On the road, I pointed at the Wendy's lot and screamed. So my son nodded and flicked his turn signal on. 3 perfect blinks. The car lurched across the lane, hopped the curb, and I watched helplessly as it crawled across 2 parking spots and stopped. I threw my car in park and ran. I ripped the driver's door open, and both kids were laughing. My daughter pointed at me. You should have seen your face. I grabbed my son's shoulders. What were you thinking? You're 8. He shrugged. You said I'd get a car and driving lessons when I'm older. My daughter crossed her arms. We didn't want to wait. We're not little kids anymore. I turned back to my son. How do you even know how to drive? He held up his phone with a driving game. We taught ourselves. I held my hand out until he dropped the keys and marched them into my back seat. My son leaned around the headrest. So when do I get the car? I was in the middle of the highway when I saw my 2 children driving my husband's car.
Well, what a night, Derek. 2 great scenes.
In bed, my boyfriend of 2 years whispered, I love you, forever. And it melted across my tongue like warm honey because I have a medical condition where I taste every word people say, and the word forever always tasted like honey. But the next day, he whispered, I love you, forever. And the words tasted like copper and ash, the taste I get when someone lies. My body went cold because he'd never lied to me before, and the truth was worse than I could have imagined. Then the next week, he came home past midnight. I shot out of bed. Where were you? He wouldn't look at me. Don't worry about it. His phone buzzed, and he immediately flipped it face down like he was hiding something. So I looked him in the eyes and whispered, I love you, forever, waiting for him to say it back. I love you, forever. But the taste of copper and ash was so bad my eyes watered, worse than any lie I'd ever tasted. My heart dropped. He was hiding something huge. Days later, I heard him on the phone in the other room, his voice cracking. I can't tell her the truth. It'll break her heart. I slid down the wall, one hand over my mouth, because now I was sure I was losing him. So I called my mom for support, whispering that I thought he was lying to me. She went quiet. I know, sweetheart. We all do, but he has to tell you himself. So I hung up and turned to face him. I know you're lying about us being together forever. What are you hiding? I yelled. His hands started shaking. I didn't know how to tell you. His eyes watered, and the words finally came out. I have stage 4 cancer. The doctors gave me 3 weeks. The late nights were at the hospital. The secret calls were my doctors. He whispered, we don't have forever. I couldn't breathe, so I took his face in my hands and asked the only thing I needed to know. Do you love me? I love you. And it flooded my mouth with the sweetest honey I'd ever tasted. He couldn't give me forever, but his love still tasted like honey. In bed, my boyfriend of 2 years whispered,
So sad.
Before he got the cancer. This is before he got the cancer.
Yeah, another love story. Where's Taylor Swift?
In bed, a man
just
I'd never
awesome.
met was trying to take me from the only dad I'd ever had. A lawyer called, Dad said, gripping
That's
the counter.
crazy.
Your biological father is filing for
watched
custody. The man in front of me had raised me since I was a baby. He pulled me into him and I felt his whole body shake. You're my daughter. You've always been my daughter. Behind him,
Yeah,
the
of
black
course.
tie still hung in the closet from Mom's funeral. He'd worn it once, and I had a feeling he was about to wear it again. I'd already buried one parent this year, and I wasn't losing another. The lawyer laid it out for us. Her mom was the legal parent, she said. Without a formal adoption, your claim comes second. Family courts prioritize biological parents. She turned a page. Your income's too low, your house needs repairs, you're going to lose her. Dad stared at her like it was a verdict. Bio Dad's lawyer kept sending letters demanding Dad's tax returns, photos of the house, a psych evaluation, each envelope thicker than the last. Every night I'd find Dad at the kitchen table surrounded by papers, building a case for why he should be allowed to keep me. One night, Dad kept his eyes on the papers. He has money, a real house. Maybe you'd have a better life with him. I shook my head before he finished. He's not my dad. You are. Dad pressed his palms into his eyes and didn't argue. The morning of the hearing, his hands were shaking too hard to knot his tie. I stood up on the stool like I used to and did it for him. I'm not losing you either. My biological father walked up in a suit that cost more than our car. The judge asked why he was here, and I stood up before he could answer. My chair scraped the floor so loud the whole courtroom turned. I pointed at Dad. He's my dad, the one sitting right there. I'm not going with anyone else. Dad's hand came up to his mouth and his shoulders caved in like the relief was too heavy to hold. I crossed the aisle, climbed into the seat next to him, and fixed the knot on his tie where it had slipped loose. Bio Dad cleared his throat. I'm here to permanently surrender my parental rights. The courtroom went silent, and even his lawyers stared at him. He turned to the judge. I came to fight for a daughter. I just watched her pick her father. Dad pressed both hands to his face, the funeral tie crushed in his fist. He'd worn it once to say goodbye. He wore it again to keep me. A man I'd never met was trying to take me from the only dad I'd ever
I
had.
was like in a trance, kind of.
Lawyer called, Dad said, gripping the counter. Your biological father is filing for
Let's go to the
custody.
next
The
one. Oh, you moved this.
Once in a bit of video.
In
though.
my husband opened my allergy test results and saw peanuts highlighted as deadly and immediately
Okay.
started laughing. Allergies are all in your head,
Yo,
he said confidently,
what do you
even though
mean?
he is literally allergic to shellfish himself. The next day, he baked me cookies to prove his theory. I asked if they had peanuts, and he swore they didn't. When I took a bite, he laughed. Ha, those cookies do have peanuts, but see, you're fine. Told you it's all in your head. But my throat was already closing up. I dropped to the floor and wheezed. Please get my EpiPen.
Yeah,
But
get
that's
that.
when he stood over me. It's all in your head. Just breathe through it.
Oh
My
my
face was
God,
turning
shit.
blue, and I reached for my bag. EpiPen, please. But he wouldn't move. I crawled to my bag and grabbed my EpiPen. But as I was about to jab myself, he grabbed it from my hand. No, you have to fight the allergy. It's not real. I started crying and couldn't
It
breathe,
is
and he waited
real.
until I passed out to actually use the EpiPen. I woke up in the hospital, and he was standing there with flowers. See? Everything turned out fine. I was extremely angry, but when we went home, I got an idea. His allergy test had highlighted shellfish, so I made his favorite pasta and loaded it with shrimp. He sat down to eat, and as he took his first bite, I said, "You were right. I've realized allergies aren't real, so I hope you don't mind I put shrimp in your pasta. I just really wanted some." He smiled at me. Of course not. Allergies are all in your head. I'm so happy you're finally getting it. And right as he said that, he started wheezing. What's happening to me? He wrapped his hands around his swelling throat and dropped to the floor. His face started turning blue, and he said, "I can't breathe." But I just stood over him and replied, "It's all in your head. Just breathe through it." He wheezed for the EpiPen, and I slowly walked over and grabbed it from my bag. He reached for it, but I pulled it away. "But I thought allergies are just in your head?" I asked, smirking. His eyes went wide, and he shook his head, thrashing on the floor, completely blue. "Fight the allergy," I told him. His eyes started rolling back, and I knew he was about to pass out. That's when I administered the EpiPen. He gasped back to life instantly, and while heaving on the floor kept repeating, "I'm sorry, I'll never say allergies are all in your head again." But I just replied, "You won't ever get the chance." I dropped the divorce papers on his chest. My husband
Don't be
opened my
calm.
allergy test
Let's go see the comments. I'm gonna like the video.
Wait,
too.
how long ago did this come out?
The final part of the divorce papers was instant karma and vengeance. Husband. I dropped the divorce papers on his chest. It's
True.
wild.
No
Yeah.
video? Not a video?
My husband, I caught a daycare full of 3-year-olds firing
Oh, yeah,
banana
that's
peels at my daughter's head during pickup. I grabbed my husband's
saw
sleeve.
this
Our
one?
daughter is
Yeah,
being
did you
bullied.
see it?
You need to get in there and handle
No, I'm
this.
s-
He puffed out his
I've
chest
saved
and cracked his
watching
knuckles.
this,
Leave it to me.
for
Tomorrow
the
morning at
video.
drop-off, I'm taking those babies
saved
down.
it?
It's on. The next
it?
morning, I was at the
So you
gate
know
when
it?
my husband carried our daughter in with his fists clenched.
just
All I
say
need to do is find their
Don't get
ringleader
skipped.
and have a word with him. It'll take 2 minutes, tops.
Do you
An
know
hour
that?
later, he stumbled out of the
think so.
daycare with a bite mark on his cheek and one
yeah.
shoe missing. My eyes widened. What the hell happened? He collapsed collapsed into my arms with tears in his eyes. I walked in there and told them if they didn't leave our baby alone, I'd call their parents, and they all swarmed me at once. Their ringleader jumped on my chest, and I lost my balance. The other babies kicked me and threw banana peels at me while I was down. They're animals, honey. We need to pull our daughter out immediately. My face went cold. Where is our daughter? He went quiet and dropped his eyes to the floor. My face fell because she was still in that room, alone with the children that somehow took down a grown man. I took out my hoop earrings. Let me take care of this. I stormed up to the front door, and the daycare worker grabbed my arm. Ma'am, turn around while you can. I've lost control of them. I stepped past her, and when I got to the room, 20 babies turned towards me. The ringleader in a dinosaur onesie shoved himself up off the rug and screamed, "Get her!" The whole horde came crawling at me, but I was ready. When a baby threw a banana peel at my face, I caught it and dropped it at their feet. Everyone froze because they hadn't met an adult who could handle them yet. I walked into the middle and sat down in the tiny chair and stared the ringleader down until his lip trembled. He burst into tears and crawled into my lap. He pointed at the closet. "Release her." My daughter walked out and hugged me. "You did it, Mommy. You took down the bad guy." I turned to the ringleader. "If you ever hurt my daughter again, I'm not calling your parents. I'm taking every banana and snack in this building. Snack time will be over. Forever." The entire room gasped, and I knew I'd earned their respect. As I walked out, they carried my daughter over to the special chair, peeled a banana like she was royalty, and fed it to her. I caught a daycare full of 3-year-olds firing banana peels at my daughter's head during pickup.
Ciao,
I pushed my plate away and told Mom, "I'm full," but she slammed her fork and shoved the plate back to me. "You're gonna finish your food." I stared in disbelief because the portion she'd given me was just as big Dad's portions used to be. But my stomach hurts with how full I am. She didn't respond and slammed the fork in my hands. I said, "Eat." I was scared and slowly took a bite, chewing slowly so I wouldn't throw up. The doorbell rang and I heard my friends ask if I could come out, but Mom said, "Not until she finishes dinner." She stormed back and physically shoved another spoonful in my mouth. "I worked too hard for you to waste food. You're gonna eat this until it's done." I sat there for 4 hours, taking a small bite every 15 minutes because that's all I could manage. Mom stayed still the entire time, watching with these angry eyes I couldn't read. 6 hours in, something in me broke. I dropped my fork and cried, screaming, "Why are you making me eat when I'm already full? You've never done this before." That's when Mom cracked. She slid off her chair onto her knees and started crying. "I'm sorry. Yesterday was Dad's funeral, so I made your plate as big as his on purpose." She gripped my hand. "He always finished his dinner, so I thought if you finished it too, it would feel like he was still here." My chest went cold, and I leaned down to wrap my arms around her. "It's okay, Mom." That's when everything she'd made me eat for 6 hours came up all over her. I pushed my plate away and told Mom, "I'm full," but she slammed her fork and shoved the plate back to me. "You're gonna finish your food." I stared in disbelief because the portion she'd given me was just as big Dad's portions used to be. But my stomach hurts with how full I am. She didn't respond and slammed the fork in my hands. I said, "Eat." I was scared and slowly took a bite, chewing slowly so I wouldn't throw up. I woke up one day, and for some reason, I understood a new language I'd never spoken before. But when I went downstairs, my whole family was speaking it too. I tried to ask, "What's going on?" But suddenly, my dad started laughing. I was confused and asked again, but my family laughed even harder. I grabbed a notepad from the counter to write what was happening, but my pen only wrote the new language. I started panicking and pointed at my tongue, but my brother asked if I was doing a stand-up routine in the new language. I sprinted out of the house in tears. I got to school hoping someone would tell me what's going on, but every classmate and teacher was speaking the same new language. I asked my best friend, "Why does everyone speak like this?" But she just stared at me and responded, "Speak like what?" in the new language. The announcement crackled in a new language, and when the teacher explained Pythagoras' theorem in the new language, I broke down sobbing. The teacher said something, but all I heard was Schmorsch Fickel van Sagt. The worst part was, I understood her. I was convinced I was in a nightmare and just started screaming. My teacher's eyes went wide and she ran out into the hallway. A few minutes later, paramedics walked in and put me on a stretcher. They drove me to the hospital, where doctors ran tests on me, all talking to me in the new language. They looked at each other concerned, and when I begged them to explain, a doctor put his hand on my shoulder and said, "Gettin' flucked smishpox." I felt a needle in my arm and everything went black. I woke up 15 hours later, sedated and in pain, and when I looked in the mirror, I noticed a huge scar on my head. My family was around my bed, and when I asked them what happened, I realized I was speaking English again. My mom grabbed my hand and started crying and said, "We were always speaking English, honey." She told me I had a brain tumor no one knew about pressing on my language center that was making me think I was hearing and speaking gibberish when it was just English. The doctors had just operated it out of me. I was in shock and asked her, "So when I told you bish grunk fu this morning, what did I actually say?" She replied, "You asked what's for breakfast. You never said bish grunk fu." I woke up one day, and for some reason, I understood a new language
It's in! plenty of power on that.
During my final exam of senior year, my teacher went around collecting everyone's phones, and when she got to me, she pointed at my medical bracelet. I need that too. I explained this was my grandma's. She had life-threatening seizures, and this alerted me if something happened to her, but Ms. Rivers shook her head. I've heard these excuses before. Give it up or fail automatically. I didn't want to, but Grandma always said my
Those
education came
watches don't
first
even
and
have
hadn't
any-
had an alert in weeks,
Those are
so I
like-
put it in the box. But 10 minutes later, I heard it buzz. That's the alert. My grandma had an accident. I started grabbing my bag, but Ms. Rivers waved her hand. It can wait. It buzzed again,
No.
and I stood to my feet. My grandma needs help. I'm going.
Punch
I ran
her.
towards the door, but Ms. Rivers crossed the room before me and locked the door. Your grandma is fine, and if you
Okay,
leave, I'm void the exam for this whole
actually,
class,
I'm
and
not
everyone gets a
doing
zero.
this.
I gripped my head in disbelief as even
I
my
am
classmates
so
told her to
angry
let me
right
go, but she just crossed her arms. The box was buzzing nonstop
Wait,
now,
now.
and I kept
Punch
wrenching
her.
the door handle,
Punch
trying to get
her.
out
I'm
exam.
waiting
That's
to
when the buzzing
Usain
stopped.
Bolt.
See,
I'll
everything
put
is
her
fine.
down.
Miss Rivers
Punch
grinned.
her
Now
into
sit
the
down.
face.
I did, but
Punch
my
her
legs
into
were
the
still
stomach.
shaking. Then the door handle
Punch her
rattled.
into
The
the
principal stepped in and looked at me with a face
And Bo's just like knocked out.
made my stomach turn. Come with me, please. I stumbled into the hall, and he shut the door shut. Two officers stood there, their hats off and lips quivering. Your grandma had a seizure, one said. She didn't make it. I felt the floor tilt under me. The cops explained the neighbors reported a loud crash, and when they found grandma's body, her fingers were still wrapped around the alert bracelet. I started crying and explained everything, and the cops instantly walked inside and cuffed Miss Rivers for obstruction of medical aid during an emergency. I opened her drawer and cried, looking at the medical bracelet with 29 alerts from grandma. Miss Rivers locked eyes with me
29?
while getting escorted out. Your grandma dying wasn't my fault. I was just following the rules. During my final exam of senior year, my teacher
Oh,
I'm
freak
killing her.
her.
I'm grabbing her neck, choking her,
Bro,
punching her into the
have
face.
her
I'm
life-
killing her.
No life in prison, no execution in
I'm
prison.
killing her. I don't care.
I woke up to smoke filling our house, and my little
What?
brother was
I
violently
saved
coughing.
him.
I could feel heat through the
Then.
carpet and knew there was a fire downstairs. My little brother instantly started crying and panicking, so I picked him up and lied.
God.
You're dreaming, buddy. None of this is real. He calmed down, so I scooped him up and headed for the stairs, sure that I was doing the right thing. I carried him into the hallway, and it was so hot it felt like an open oven. Halfway to the stairs, he wriggled out of my arms and trailed his fingers along the wall and smiled. It's so warm in this dream. I grabbed his hand and pulled him down the steps while something crashed behind us, hard enough to shake the staircase. And below
Oh my
us, the
God.
coat rack
Pee
beside
on
the
it.
front door
Pee
was
on it.
already
Pee
burning.
on it.
When we finally
Pee
got
on
to the
it.
bottom step and the door was 10 feet away, I breathed a sigh of relief until Leo stopped walking. He turned back to the fire that was climbing up the stairs, and he smiled playfully. Since I'm dreaming, I want to try being a fire superhero. I tackled him to the ground and grabbed him again. We're leaving the house, now. But as I sprinted out the door, he was still smiling like he was planning something. When the firemen arrived, I explained to them what happened, and they asked where my brother was so they could check his vitals. But when I turned around to find him, he was gone. My heart was pounding,
What?
and I looked down to see tiny footprints leading into the house. I instantly ran inside to get Leo, but seconds before I made it to the front door, the house collapsed in on itself. I immediately fell to the ground, screaming.
No.
I killed Leo's fear to get him down those stairs, but his fear was the only thing that ever kept his hands out of the fire. I woke up to smoke filling our house, and my little...
Died.
Let me see. Let me see.
Your dreaming buddy's dog. Famous last words. I want to be a fire superhero. Alright guys, the next one is gonna be the
Wait,
last.
can I watch it again? Like,
No.
Please.
No, he just dies.
How?
Was
it a dream?
No, it isn't. So, guys, next short's gonna be the last short. Alright.
I walked in my prep.
Not much.
I walked into my son's principal's office for the discussion, and he instantly adjusted his glasses. Your son isn't allowed to walk down the aisle at graduation. His wheelchair will take too long, and our timed schedule doesn't allow for it, but he'll get his diploma after, don't worry. I stared in disbelief because 4 years ago, my son tackled an attacker in this school. He saved everyone and caught a bullet in the back in the process. Doctors said he'd never live normally again, so crossing the stage meant proving everybody wrong. I stormed out without replying, and while leaving, I saw Nathan in his wheelchair playing basketball with the friends he'd saved. I walked over and whispered to them so my son wouldn't hear. They gripped their heads as they stared at the principal walking around with legs my son didn't have. He's only alive because of
I
Nathan,
knocked
and
out
he
the
won't let him walk.
principal.
Oh, hell no. On graduation day, I helped Nathan put on his cap and gown, and he
He's so
smiled at me. Are you
plain.
ready, Mom? I nodded because I knew so much he didn't. The principal began reading the names, and my son cheered for every student before him. Some even personally thanked him from the stage. But then the principal got to where Nathan's name should be. My son gripped his wheelchair, ready to roll. Nelson Joe. My son's smile dropped, and his fingers stayed on his wheelchair, now trembling. The principal continued, Nelson Joe, please walk. But then Nathan Nathan's friend stood up. I think you skipped someone. A smile spread across my face as the principal went pale. He's too slow. We just don't have time. We don't have time for the person who saved our lives? Another kid stood up. None of us would even be here without him. The principal began trembling as dozens of kids stood up. I nearly teared up, watching Nathan's eyes light up as he saw how much he meant to his classmates. The principal called Nathan Daniels, and while the whole room clapped, my son started wheeling towards the stage, going extra slow just to piss the principal off. I walked into my son's principal's office for the discussion.
Be my kid.
So
But no, shouldn't be my
that's
kid.
just that's just gonna be it. Guys, make sure to like and
Wait,
subscribe.
where did we make it? Where did we make it?
We
Oh,
made it here.
So we watched 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 videos today. I'm shorts.
Yeah. So, we will do it more in the next video. Probably going to be a full-length video of one, maybe this one. Maybe I tested my boyfriend. He failed. But guys, make sure to like and
No,
subscribe.
wait. How about?
No, we're gonna do that, I think.
Yeah.
Guys, make sure to like and subscribe. Peace. Go subscribe and like to her story if you haven't already. But guys,
Motivational bow.
peace.
Wait, guys. Subscribe to Colby615.
Yeah.
That's me.
Peace. Oh my God, bro. Peace.
Notificational bell.
I don't want a notification for. Oh my God. Peace.